Skip, I don't know. Usually in this situation, the obvious answer is yes, especially a team that just went to the Super Bowl last season. You would say, no question, they pop out of this and they go on a run. But there hasn't been anything to give me that kind of confidence in this team as of late. They've been really, really bad in these ball games. They've been 1-5 over their last 6 games. I just don't see that changing. I don't see, the team that we saw last season. I don't see the offensive ingenuity. I don't see the pressure and sacks from the defense that we saw last season. And I think those sacks and that pressure from the D-line, who played incredible last season, kind of minimized some of the shortcomings in the secondary, because those shortcomings have been evident these last 6, 7. I mean, most of the season. They've ranked 28 in pass. I think they're amongst the league worst in points per game. And offensively, they're predictable. We talked about this before on the show, how predictable they are. And I don't think people gave enough credit to Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon and what they were able to do with this team. I don't know how many times in the history of this league you've lost an offensive and defensive coordinator in the same offseason, but they did. And for the most part, early in the season, they weathered that storm. They were 10-1. We thought, hey, this team is a great team. They're going to be fine. They're going to, they won some really close games throughout the season. And we said, this is a little bit of a hangover, but they're winning the game, so it's fine. Then this second part of the season happened, and we're like, I don't know what's going on, Skip. I really don't, because they're not beat up offensively. If they had a huge injury on the offensive line or defensive line, or a huge injury where you say they lost Lane Johnson, but or they lost A.J. Brown, or they lost Swift for an extended period of time, you could say, oh, okay, when they get back, things will get back to normal. But they're the same team they've been, and they're just not winning these ball games, and they don't look like a team that's going to win in these playoffs right now.
Yeah, I don't think that this is a team that is going to go far in the NFC just based on these last 6 games that I've seen. I mean, they've lost 5 of the last 6, Skip. So when you think about what they're able to do offensively with Brian Johnson calling plays is different, obviously, than Shane Steichen. You now have something totally different in the style in which Brian wants to run versus Steichen. I mean, you figure they just would take a guy off the staff and allow him to kind of do the same things. Yeah, those principles are still there, but whenever you have an offensive coordinator that's different than the one you had before, he's going to call things differently. It may be the same plays, but his 3rd and 2 call may be different than the 3rd and 2 that you had such success with, because he's running the show now. And I think that this is just the players are still the same. It's just a different way of doing things, and they have obviously not gotten the best out of the offensive unit. I'm surprised that they played as long as they did against the Giants. You mentioned A.J. Brown's knee, you hurt his hand. You get them out of the game as soon as you feel like this game is slipping away from you, as well as scoreboard watching the Dallas Cowboy game. And then you put them on the sideline. Defensively, like Richard said, the secondary, for all intents and purposes, were not holding up without the defensive line doing their job, getting to the quarterback and applying pressure, stuffing and run, something that they haven't been able to do again. So now you talk about Gannon being gone to Arizona. That's a new defensive coordinator on top of another new defensive coordinator in the middle of the season in Patricia taking over. So you got things that was done a different way a year ago, things that were done half of the season this year, Skip, defensively, and now you're doing things different again once Matt Patricia took over. So you got 3 things going in your head from a defensive standpoint on certain rules that you would do, things in terms of schemes and coverages and stunts. You probably got 3 different things running through your head on 3 different calls, so it makes the job that much more difficult. The only time I can remember, Richard, you just mentioned losing 2 coordinators the same year, New England, when they lost Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel in the same year. That's the only team that I could think of, and then I think they went on to probably have a little success after that without those 2.
Success, yeah, I'd say. All right, I'm on record. I believe that the Eagles will lose at the Buccaneers a week from tonight. Or should I say the Bucs will just put them out of their misery, because this Eagles team has lost its way, it's lost its momentum, it's lost its heart. It's lost its confidence. It's lost all direction on who it is and where it's headed. And yet, if I may say so, I first guessed this. I told you guys from day one this year, this defense is not very good. It's torchable, it's gettable. And it was gettable all year long because now it's fallen all the way to 30th in points allowed. I thought it wasn't great a year ago because Dallas hung 40 on it on Christmas Eve. And I know Jalen didn't play quarterback, but he didn't play safety. So I said, man, they're not what you think they are on defense. Even at 10-1, I sat right here and told you guys, I don't believe in them. I don't trust them. And now they've fallen to 31st in stopping their opponents on third down. So they can't get off the field, which obviously makes it really hard on the offense. And overall, this football team has fallen to 27th in turnover differential. So it's minus 10. So it's turning the ball over, and it can't stop anybody. And it keeps saying, well, next week, and next week, and next week. And this time of year, you can't flip a switch now. It's just when you lose 5 of your last 6. And remember, there were 4 games before you went on this losing streak where you were on the razor's edge and you barely hung on and you kept getting outscored in the first half. You kept getting outgained for the whole game, and you went 4 straight games and you pulled them out of your you-know-what. And then all of a sudden you started losing and you can't get it back. So I can't remember a defensive coordinator getting demoted in midseason. It just doesn't happen. And, man, Sean Desai getting kicked upstairs in favor of Coach Pencil, who I think is overrated anyway. He's another one of those chips off the Belichick block, and what have any of them ever done?
See, I don't think that Philadelphia is going to go down to Tampa and lose this football game. I just don't. I watched Tampa Bay against the Carolina Panthers. Nothing gives me
I'll bet you Carolina's defense is better than Philadelphia.
It may be, but it gives me no reason to think that Baker Mayfield, great story, great everything, played his way into a contract extension. But I don't think that Philadelphia, as bad as they were yesterday or as bad as they've been, they got a better team than Tampa Bay. And I can't see them losing in Tampa. The following week, different story in the divisional round, but I think they at least make it to the divisional round.
Richard.
Well, I think they can, just because Todd Bowles and some of the things that he does defensively, some of the complex schemes that he runs, the coverages, the pressure that he brings. Antoine Winfield Jr. is having a great season.
He is.
Those linebackers in Tampa can make life difficult. And then you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who at any given time can both go off. You know, Mike Evans led the league in touchdown receptions for a reason, because he's a big play guy, and he will have a shot against this secondary if this offensive line can hold up, and they have held up decently all season. So I don't know. I think the way this Eagles offense is playing and how predictable they are, the way Todd Bowles, and I've sat in these meetings with him, I've been, there when he's scheming it up. He's one of the best that I've ever been around in understanding an offense, and this offense is very simple to understand. So I think that he's going to create a lot of issues for them. Thankfully, the Eagles have a great offensive line that will be able to pick up, some of the things that he brings and recognize it. But I think, like Nick Bosa said after they gave a blueprint to a lot of these teams to stop the Philadelphia Eagles, and since that game, they've been 1-5. So you got to think that there is something on tape that teams are seeing from this offense that are allowing them to stop them and put pressure on Jalen Hurts and put him in positions that he's not having the same success that he's had before.
So, Richard, how does this defense compare to the one that won the Super Bowl a couple of years back with obviously Tom Brady at quarterback? Because now this defense is 7th in points allowed, 5th against the run. So it's pretty good. It might not be quite as good as it was back in that day, especially rushing the passer. I don't see Shaq Barrett getting that kind of pressure that he got in the Super Bowl run.
Yeah. I mean, it's hot and cold. Like you said, they're 7th in points allowed. They're 5th against the run, and a lot of that is Vita Vea.
It is.
And his impact. He's the linchpin in the middle of that defense. Levante David is always underrated, criminally underrated. Been one of the best linebackers in the league for over a decade now. We talked about what they've been able to do in the back end with Antoine Winfield Jr. He's having a great season. He should have been a Pro Bowler. One of the biggest snubs this year.
Yep.
Over Buda Baker, no question. You know, Buda is a great player, but Antoine's having a better season this year.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things that they do well, and I think they're playing right at the right time, and I think they're going to have a great game, and they will be the only reason I could see Philadelphia losing this game is if this defense gets hot and create some turnovers and create some chaos, then they can walk away with a victory.
Okay, so Keyshawn, sum it up. Do you really believe they'll just flip the switch and go down there and crush Tampa?
I don't know that they'll crush them, but I think they have the capabilities of winning a football game in the playoffs. One game. I think they have that capability. They made some mistakes. They can clean those mistakes up for one game. If they can do that, then yeah, I think they're good enough, a talented enough team to win one game in the playoffs.
I've never seen a team pick itself up off the mat. I know Nick Sirianni said after the game, we will pick ourselves the F up. Well, I'll believe it when I see it because it just doesn't happen this late in the year.
Yeah, one game is doable. It's not like they're going up against the 49ers. It's not like they're going up against Baltimore. They're going up against a Tampa team that has struggled all year long, and then they go down to Carolina and they struggle in that game and get out of it. We'll score 9-0 or something. Like, come on. I don't think that they're getting ready to face murderer's row.
But they're also a team that just struggled against the Giants. And
I get all of that. I get that they struggled against the Giants, but they also started pulling dudes and doing things like that. So I'm not going to let the score keep it too lopsided.
That's what concerned me is that the reason they pulled dudes because they were getting their faces kicked in, and this Giants team wasn't. They were formidable. If they would have left those guys in, I don't think the score would have been any different. And that's the concerning part for me watching that game was like, man, it seemed like they got the twos in, but they got the ones in.
You think they're going to lose? You think they're going to lose to Tampa?
I think there's a great chance they lose to Tampa, no question.
Yeah. And by the way, Keyshawn, I told you the Eagles would lose one of the last two to the Giants, and they almost lost both of them to the Giants.
They almost lost both.
Ooh.
Well, Skip, be quiet. Guess what you'd have did if they'd have won? Said nothing. If they'd have won the two games, you'd have said nothing. You know how that works. It's like I tell you, Skip, in baseball, it's that pitch is going to come back to hunt them. They say that in the third inning. Yeah. By the time you get to the ninth inning, you don't hear anything. Nice try.
Way back when it looked like the Eagles were dominating the division, you said you want to bet a dinner that the Eagles win the division. I said, I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you.
You won it.
Win a lot.
You're in the second seed. Now you got to play Green Bay, and let's see what happens.
Okay, speaking of that, we've got Green Bay. We've got Dallas. What shot do you give Jordan Love of winning at Dallas? That is a good question, and that's next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.